My name is Kimberly Tucker, and I am the Director of Marketing here at DSD. And I have the privilege of being your event host today, which means I will be here monitoring the chat box for any questions or needs that arise throughout the event. So please feel free to use that feature to engage with me, and we'll go ahead and save our questions for the Q&A portion, which should be about 5 or 10 minutes before the end of the hour. As far as our presenters today, we have our Business Development Manager, Abe Plummer, for the HCM practice, and one of our seasoned Criterion consultants, Lisa Stewart, who will be giving us this guided tour of the product and showing us all the HR automation that Criterion has to offer. So we have a lot to show you today, so we'll go ahead and get started. Are you ready for us, Abe?
I am. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep, you sound great.
Outstanding. Thanks, everyone. Again, as Kimberly said, Abe Plummer, Business Development Manager of the HCM team here at DSD. Very excited to get a chance to be in front of everyone. I will certainly try to make sure as we go through this process, we cover a lot of bases. As Kimberly said, this is a opportunity for us to show you what Criterion can do. But I want to stress as well that we are really doing a lot in a very, very short amount of time. So certainly we are not showing all the capabilities and functionality of the system. I would probably say, at least I'd say it's probably realistic to view this as kind of more of an introduction at kind of a high level. So I did want to state that for everyone, but we will definitely try to cover as much as we can. Certainly questions at the end as well, and we very much would look forward for anyone that has interest in the content that we show today to be able to have more dialogue in a one-on-one scenario as well to talk about how this may be able to help your business. So that said, I will go ahead and move forward. One thing I'd love to do, I think a lot of people here hopefully are familiar with DSD, but I just want to spend a few minutes talking about DSD. We are a company that's been around for 35 plus years now. We are headquartered in San Diego, California, and our focus is around being able to offer consultation services for obviously enterprise, mid-market, as well as small business clients across ERP, CRM, fixed assets, and of course, last but certainly not least, human capital management, or HCM. So we are, as you can see, in a number of different states throughout the US. We also are in Canada, and we have clients all over as well. So the biggest thing that we really try to do is make sure that we build relationships. I know that's said often, but that's something that we really pride ourselves upon. And so much of the time, our client base have been with us across a variety of different platforms. And they've started with one product and then enhance what they're doing with another platform that might be a step up. So we love having those long-spanning relationships. We love being able to help with a variety of different needs and platforms, and we really embrace the opportunity to obviously work with existing clients, but also build to and bring new people in the DSD family. Just a little bit more around DSD. Again, as I alluded to before, 35 plus years, thousands of clients served. We also really do a lot with regard to custom enhancements and being able to do very specialized implementations as well. We're very fortunate to have a tremendous amount of seasoned personnel across, again, all of our various platforms that really have the ability to go that next step, that extra mile. I'll just speak from an HCM standpoint. We have a lot of clients that move off of some of the big box solutions, as I like to call them, and move to some of the product lines that we sell. And the biggest consistent point that's made so much of the time is actually not around the product and the solution that we're offering. A lot of times it's actually more along the lines of the service, the implementation, how our people engage and interact with our clients. A lot of times that's just missing with some of these larger publishers. So we really like bringing that value. Now let's talk a little bit about Criterion HCM. Criterion is a product that I think a lot of people are kind of unfamiliar with what the term human capital management really means. It is a product that has a multi-dimensional focus. So we're talking about HR functionality, but then we're also talking about being able to do a variety of different things with regard to onboarding and recruiting, applicant tracking. We're talking about payroll. So instead of it just being a payroll system that has some HR components, it really is a complete system, one uniform database, which is very important as well, and we'll talk more about that. But it really brings a variety of different characteristics to play for our clients. So it's not just a payroll system. It has, it has time and attendance. It has so many different pieces built into it, and being, so broad gives a lot of flexibility, which is something that we really love. And one of the things that I can also stress is that the view that a lot of people give of Criterion after they have been on the platform, as you can see, is 95% from a success standpoint, which is really just fantastic. So we felt like we were partnering with a company that valued that client experience, and then also wanted to really step things up from a technological end. Criterion, much like DSD, has been around for over 35 years as well. They're headquartered in Connecticut. Their CEO, whom we have a very close relationship as well, has been an integral part of their growth. He is, I like to always call this out, he is a tech guy, so he's not just some executive that happens to run a technology company. He himself is a techie, so he can get in there and really understands a lot of the back-end nuances of what an HRIS or HCM system should really have. So very excited again to be able to partner with Criterion with regard to that. And just to talk a little bit too about Criterion's reach, they're working with partners in over 10 countries, a variety of different alliances that they have as well, and integrations with a variety of different very, very popular platforms. So again, this is just a little bit of that, and we'll get more into the various integrations. One thing that you'll see as a consistent theme is Criterion is a company that very much wants to be able to connect and integrate and have some sort of interface with a variety of different third-party software solutions. So one of the things we'll speak to is how they try to work with APIs to really connect with a variety of different companies. And the big thing is, when there is a new organization out there that a client says, we'd really like to be able to have this software integrate in and work and communicate and be able to move data back and forth with Criterion, Criterion does something that a lot of HCM companies won't do. They actually will happily engage with the client and then obviously with that third-party company to try to see what can be done as far as building custom integrations, and they do a tremendous job of that. It's really something that differentiates them from a lot of other product lines out in the market that basically say, kind of, here's what we are, here's what we do, here's who we communicate with, and if you're not using or utilizing these companies, there's not a whole lot we can do for you. Criterion really embraces going that extra mile, and that's really where I think they build a lot of value. And to that end, one of the things that we like to do as well is kind of talk about how Criterion matches up against some of the other very notable companies that are in the space, and from both a small business perspective, the enterprise level vendors, as well as a lot of service bureaus. And as you can see in there, when you talk about some of the small business vendors, again, the biggest advantage that Criterion is going to have is that a lot of those systems really have very focused usability, but they really have a very limited amount of functionality. So, again, a lot of those systems, the system comes one way, and they expect you to kind of conform to what they have in place. They don't really like getting outside of the box and getting in the weeds on custom enhancements or custom integrations, as I alluded to before. They really want to kind of make you fit what they have available. Criterion, again, embraces being able to get outside of that. And then you get into enterprise level vendors. The nice thing about those companies is obviously they have a lot of functionality, certainly, but typically, if you are a small or mid-market client, even enterprise, the cost, you know, that you're going to run into this, especially trying to configure it the way that you want the system to be set up, can be staggering. And what Criterion, I'd say one of the best ways I describe them is being able to offer enterprise level functionality for the small and middle market client. That's probably the best way that I would really characterize who they are and what they do. And then lastly, you talk about the service bureaus. And again, one of the biggest things there is, you know, you lose control of your payroll process. And again, they don't have a variety of integrations. That's not their model. They really want to just kind of have things work the way that they do. And they're not worried about trying to necessarily build new interfaces to have new integrations. So again, Criterion really differentiates itself there in a tremendous way. Switching gears a little bit, you know, kind of talking about the value that is brought in with Criterion. Again, I kind of alluded to it a little bit before, but you know, from an enterprise level HCM feature standpoint, obviously the integrated HR, the payroll, the talent engagement that I talked about, the workforce management. But what really gets, I think, a lot of our end users, especially at DSD, because we have so many clients that are using ERPs and maybe even a current HCM system, and they don't have the ability to do, you know, simple things like offering a self-service to their employees and allowing them to be able to go in and do certain tasks within the system. Again, they dictate what the system allows them to do, but simple things, being able to update their own personal information, you know, being able to pull pay stubs, you know, being able to potentially, if they want to allow them to also be able to do certain things with regard to requesting PTO and scheduling. There's so much that's there that a lot of clients don't have that kind of functionality and those capabilities, and things like self-service are just a tremendous part of that. The other thing I would say too, kind of moving down, talking about the integration configuration, this is a very modern system. So if you compare this to other systems that are in the market space, just the overall aesthetic of it, very easy to use. I think very easy, again, to configure. I know that's something you're hearing a lot of, but it really is true. And it's something that I can't strike that point hard enough, because it really makes such a tremendous difference when you can have a system configured the way you need it for your particular needs, and not just something that's just kind of an out-of-the-box thing. Lastly, of course, from a pricing standpoint, the model that Criterion uses is known as a per employee per month model. The nice thing about it too is, depending on the components you select, again, this is one uniform database system, but it has individual components. Other software companies would call them modules, but again, it's a certain modularity. But the biggest difference here is in Criterion, these are not other modules or other components from another organization. These are not third-party solutions that are brought in Criterion. This is all created by Criterion solely, and again, part of one uniform database. But the nice thing about it is they do have some options if you select all of the products available, to be able to have some special pricing and some price lock options available, which we can certainly get into the specifics of those in some one-on-one engagement. So again, moving things forward a little bit, a very powerful HCM with the ability to be able to have functionality, you know, analytics, access to the back-end data, which is huge. You get on some of these, again, going back to a few moments ago, I was talking about your big box companies, especially your service companies, your pay service companies. They're not going to give you any access to that back-end data. You know, you have very, very limited access. And for a lot of clients, that's a big deal. You know, being able to get in there and do that is huge. So again, something that Criterion offers. You know, some of the functionality, again, I talked about before, the employee self-service, obviously the analytics, Being able to incorporate benefits. Maybe you work with a benefit broker or multiple carriers, and you want to have that managed inside of Criterion. So you'd still use your broker, but instead of when open enrollment comes around having to go through a broker's portal that employees might not be that familiar with, they would be able to do so if you so chose in Criterion. So they can actually go in and make those updates and select their benefits during open enrollment. A variety of different things from workforce management standpoint. Again, from a talent management, being able to do a lot with regard to employee expense management and onboarding, and again, applicant tracking, which again, my colleague Lisa will get into a lot more around that. But so much that can be done there. And obviously from a payroll standpoint, again, full payroll available. So, being able to process payroll deposits, we'll get all into that, being able to do tax calculations, working through a variety of different ways and working with a lot of different verticals. We have clients that have to be able to handle payroll in a multitude of different states. Criterion can handle that. We have clients who need to be able to work with unions. Criterion can handle that. There's so much that's there that we're excited to be able to bring to the table. Just talking a little bit too around how it kind of works with the various pieces within inside the structure and the strata of a business. From an executive standpoint, being able to see things again like the analytics, being able to obviously scale up with growth. You can start small and then you can really increase the system. Obviously, greater productivity by being able to empower the employees and management to leverage the system. Certainly the fixed cost component of it. From an IT standpoint, having those open APIs, being able to have these integrations, from a compliance standpoint, there's so much that's there. Obviously, from a finance standpoint, again, that cost that we talked about there, being able to have a fixed cost, again, compliance, but then also too, in addition to that, a lot of data privacy stuff comes into place. From a payroll standpoint, making payroll, doing our absolute best to make it something that's more efficient and just something that is a much easier endeavor. The integrated time clock piece, which my colleague will talk about, the ability to process time a variety of different ways through a variety of different platforms. So being able to have the ability to have people clock in through a multitude of different devices, but then also being able to have the ability to do so remotely and leveraging mobile punch in, but then also having geofencing built in, so you can control where people can clock in, so they can't just sit at Starbucks and clock in. So much functionality in the system that we're so excited about. And obviously the HR side of it, again, we've talked about, again, with the benefits piece of it, self-service, again, so much that Criterion can offer. What we try to bring to the table with Criterion and the way that we try to have success is having a named client success manager, so someone that's going to be your point of contact with regard to your particular account with Criterion and with DSD. So having that person that you can always turn to, and then obviously having the resources that abound from DSD and Criterion as well, which is just fantastic. Criterion has a feature request portal. I could do a call just on this because I believe in this so much. It is a system in which you can actually request different things within the system, enhancements, updates, things directly in Criterion that you'd like to see once you're a user of the system. The reason this is so powerful is that this doesn't just go into oblivion. You make a request, you make a suggestion, and it just goes into nowhere and you never hear of it again. They actually have people set aside to monitor that work in conjunction with their developers. And we have, within that list, they actually catalog when things are made, and they address back to the end user that made the request when they're going to have certain updates added to the system. So a lot of this is added as just a quarterly enhancement, which is fantastic. And instead of it being something that sometimes takes a year, a lot of times it happens the very next quarter. It's just amazing. And I think that's probably one of my favorite things about Criterion, because it really shows that they're listening. Again, the 24/7 live monitoring, 100% uptime. Again, a cloud-based platform that just really gives so many features and capabilities, and obviously reliability as well. Again, so many customers that are on the product, a variety of different logos that you can see here, a variety number of different platforms that are using this. And then also the big thing too is being able to be in so many different verticals. Again, we just talked about a few of them here, from construction and engineering and manufacturing, education, nonprofits, so much that I would say this system really can work for a variety of different users. It's not just typecast for a few. Last thing I'll say, and again, I appreciate so much your time. I'm sorry I've gotten so much longer than I intended for this to be, but the biggest thing, and I hope you can hear my voice, is I really believe this platform is something that could really make a difference in the way you handle your HR and payroll and onboarding tasks. I've seen it firsthand. I think it's something that really can make a significant change in things, and really the way that we also engage via DSD and Criterion. I think hopefully the way that we also really kind of leverage our experience and our overall sort of company-wide dynamic and persona, I think it adds another level to the software and really gives, I think, a phenomenal user experience. So that said, I do want to go ahead and pass things off to my colleague, and I thank you all again for your time.
Thank you, Abe. Perfect. Oh, yep.
Now if I can unmute myself, we'd be good, right?
Yeah, all good now.
You can't read lips. Hi, my name is Lisa Stewart, and I am a senior consultant for HCM. I've been in the payroll and HR business for a very long time. I don't even really want to date myself because I go back a long time. I've actually been in the end user world as well. I've been a controller and an HR director and an HR manager in my endeavors, and a lot of consulting years in the program itself. So with that being said, since Abe did a little talking, I will go ahead and jump in. This is the Criterion. When you log in, everyone comes into the same the landing spot. We all have what's called the employee self-service landing. This is our employee self-service landing. It can be custom to, you can add features to it and you cannot add features to it. I'm gonna change my user real quick because I don't like the way this looked. Give me 1 second. We had a very lengthy tutorial last night, so I like this landing. This is what the landing actually looks like. So you can actually have feeds. You can have global announcements, which is really nice if you want to push it out to your employees so they all understand or have something important to say. We do have onboarding, so I can actually attach my onboarding tasks right here on the employee menu. I can see my time off, my paid time off, whatever time off that you're tracking, if it's sick, if it's PTO, if it's vacation. There's a spot here for external links. These are all widgets too that you can turn on or turn off, so it's up to you on the way you want to set it up. I do have a separate, over here on my right-hand side, I do have a separate widget for onboarding. I do have, we do allow, there's a new feature that they have that you can give feedback. You can give feedback either anonymously, or you can ask for it, the actual employees, and you can request it or you can give it. Any notifications that I might have pending for me, my attendance, time off, I can actually look at my pay and any events that might be coming up. All of these widgets here also are on this side of my bar. I'm over on the left-hand side. I can look at time, so I can view my time off from here. I can view my timesheets, availability. If I am a manager, I can view my team's timesheets and their time off and their attendance. I can add or change my bank accounts, my deductions. I can look at my pay history. So if you want to see your paychecks, I can actually see them from here, and I can actually print them, reprint them from a PDF. I have benefit plans. So if I want to look at my benefit plans, open enrollment's always a big one. You do get to set up your own open enrollments, what is entailed in your open enrollment. So therefore I can go in here and go through my open enrollment. We have learning. We have a learning module. So like if you are tracking courses or you need to have them do specific classes, you can track that on here through the module itself. You can set that up and they can complete them. You can see your teams. Your performance, if you did give feedback, or you want to set up some goals, or you want to do, I always laugh because I see my journal and I always think of journal entries. That's just coming from an accounting side. You have reviews and all your team information. This is career, which is nice too. These can be renamed, just so you know, too. All of these tabs can be renamed to specific to your company. But this has, like, if you have any certifications, if you're tracking certs, then you can actually add them in here. Or if you wanted to see if you've completed them, you can add your certifications. You can upload documents here. So if you did get a certification from a class that you've completed, you can go ahead and do that. Personnel information can be updated through here. You can update your demographics, you can change your address, you can add any dependents or contacts due to life events. This is a calendar, and this would be my actual link. So we do allow in Criterion to upload certain documents, like if there's company documents, if there's videos that you need an employee to watch, or if there's specifics, like if you have safety videos, or you have, if you're like a CPR or a I-9 or W-4, you can put all of that underneath these documents. You can also have different folders. So you could have company documents, you could have HR documents, you can have any type of documents that you want. You maybe have employee documents, personal documents, whatever you want. You can name them however you want in the employee self-service. Over here in the top right-hand corner, I can click the button, I can enter time, I can request time off, and I can view pay stubs again back up in this corner. And this, the employee self-service is customizable. So I'm gonna click on my down arrow, I'm gonna go to my next module, which is the HR module. And I'm gonna go to my employees. We have what's called multiple employers. It's the same thing if you're using the accounting software and you call them company codes. These are multiple employers that we could have. I'm going to bring up my DSD. Very simple to add an employee by clicking the little icon over here that says add employee. I can also click on one of my employees and you'll see this is all the demographic information. What's really nice too about Criterion is we do allow custom fields, and you can rename any field that you want if you don't like what it says. Like if you have preferred name and you don't want to use preferred name, you can rename that. We have pronouns, anything that you didn't like, you could rename. We track an address, both mailing and physical. Again, you can add custom fields to this screen. Your employment information is all kept underneath here. You can have a mentor, you can have managers. You'll see we have a Sage 100 employee number that we've put in this field. Every employee has a primary position. The primary position is what they start out as and what you track it information for. That's how they pay. You get paid off of your primary position. We do have things for certified rates. So if you're a construction company and you have union and you must track your certified rates, we do have a field for that, and it can be used in any kind of reporting capabilities. You can track additional positions, so they may be a project manager on one job and they may be an actual lead tech on another job, so you can track both of those. We do track position history, so that if you need to go back and see when this employee changed positions, you do have that. You'll see this person was an admin at first, and then they moved on to a payroll manager. We have benefit plans that you can set up, time off plans that you can add to the employee. Any life events we track. And then for payroll, we have your bank accounts, your deductions, your incomes, your pay history, any taxes that were taken. We have a documents tab, which is nice. And this is where we got into the little fields we were talking about. You can do a personnel, you can do confidential, You can do affirmative action. You can also create a custom panel. So if you want to track like COVID, you can actually create a panel called COVID, and you could track all that information underneath that for that specific employee. We have candidate documents. So there's this document comes in handy. Everything is stored in one place. You just upload the actual document itself. We do dependents and contacts. We have any prior employment if you wanted to track it. Social media, if you're tracking social media sites. They did add a new feature called badges. So if you want to reward your employee with certain badges, you can see that underneath here as well. Education and skills, this is where certifications, if they got their AA or their BA, or they did a text class that you want to upload that document to and give them credit for, because maybe it's dependent upon their pay raise, you can add that all in here. It's very simple by just clicking on an add and putting it in there. We have performance reviews. So this is where you track their reviews, their goals, any feedback that you might have, any questions or concerns, that all can be put in here. So you can request feedback from the employee after you give them the review, and it would be tracked in here as well. Miscellaneous is your workers' comp. You can set up various security. We have different employee groups that you can put your employees in so that you can report on those groups. You can track on those groups. You can do all kinds of reporting capabilities. So we do have underneath our settings, this is where we would set up our master file information, if you guys are familiar with the term master file. So this is where you would set up your employee groups. This is where we would define our benefits. This is where we would define our time off plans. This settings is only usually made available to the actual HR manager or the payroll manager or your benefits coordinator, whoever is setting that information up. Not everyone has access to this. So that's the HR piece of it. Let's jump over to payroll. So under payroll, the employees are the same as what you had before. This is going to be specific to your companies. So what you do is under your payroll, you actually create a batch. So I know that a lot of the systems, you create batches. So we'll just use the test one here. You define what the employer, who the employer is. You can give it any name you want. A lot of employees, a lot of clients put the date so that you need them. These batches stay out there, so you can always go back in and take a look at them. Your pay group, if it's weekly, if it's bi-weekly, if it's a special pay period, you could actually specify if it's a special pay period. Maybe it's a bonus run and you pay the last period of every month. So that's why you would put that in here so that they would know that. You do it based on if the payroll schedule is weekly, if it's bi-weekly, and then you can pick your pay periods that you've defined, and then the pay date. When you go to next, it actually brings up your payroll data entry. So I know Abe touched a little bit on the very beginning where the system is really good about, you can import timesheets, you can import files, you can import, what we do is we create a template, and as long as your template matches, you can import from other systems into this and bring it in, and then you can change if their hourly rate's different. You can add employees into this batch file. You can manage incomes. We refer to those in other systems like earnings codes. So you can add earnings codes. Maybe this is a bonus run, or maybe this is a holiday pay and you want to add that in there. You can put that in there as well. You would calculate the payroll. Go to next, and then basically it brings you up a summary. It tells you what everything looks like, how it looks. You would approve it, and then after you approve your batch, you can still go back in and edit it if you need to, but you would then go into payroll processing and you would pay your batch. You can have a combination of checks. You can have a combination of ACH. You can do it either way, whichever one that you prefer. So you go in and you would print your checks, and then you would send off your ACH batches. And then we work with whatever banks that you're working with and how to get those files and how to get that information up to your clearinghouses. There's a tax filing file that it actually can create too as well. So you define if it's going to be an ACH file. We work with Atrix. So you could, if you have an Atrix account already with them, you could use the same account and upload the files to them. If you want to stick with another payroll system, we do have what's called General Ledger, and you can download a GL file. That file then makes all of your debits and credits for you, your journal entry. You upload it with other systems. Usually you have some type of an import, like with Sage 100, you have Visual Integrator, you have some type of import program that would import that journal entry in, so you do not have to recreate it based on reports. It's already done for you. You upload it, you update it, and everything is done at that point. So it's kind of nice. You can do that as well if you want to keep your current payroll system and you don't want to change it. It will actually do the GL for you, because sometimes that's the most difficult part. Again, this takes you to your payroll settings, where you can set up your bank account for the company. You can set up your deductions, how frequent they are. We do offer a GL mapping so that you would set up your GL accounts in Criterion exactly how you have them set up in your current accounting system. And therefore, when you do the mapping and we do the GL file that I just showed you, it will match to whatever you have set up in your actual system itself. We do have prevailing wage tables. So we talked a little bit about certified payroll. Here in California, we do a lot of certified payrolls for construction. So you have to have prevailing wages. What's nice too is underneath our reports, we do have a prevailing wage report, which makes it nice. So therefore you can upload it, you can print it down to CSV, and then you can upload it to whatever tracking system that you're using that needs to get it. It's the certified reporting Excel. So you don't even have to recreate it. You just download it to CSV and upload it to the tracking itself. You'll see that it comes with a variety of reports. You get quite a few. We also have a couple of things. We have an analytical designer, which allows you to move data and create data and change different things. And we do have a data grid. So if you have somebody that is really good with creating custom reports or downloading them, you can. If not, it's as simple as a drop and drag. So this also makes it easy as well. If you click on like edit, you can go in there and just drop and drag these files, and then that prints it out. When I say next, it'll actually generate and now bring up if there's any divisions. So exporting, and it does export to Excel. So that makes it really simple as well. So that's my payroll module. We have what's called recruiting. I wish Abe was talking to this. I love when Abe talks. He gets very excited about the recruiting part of it, and he's really good at it. So I'm going to try and put on my Abe hat and do the best that I can. So in here, you can actually add positions that you are that you're advertising or that you want to recruit for. What's cool is you can actually track the candidates. So you track the whole process from beginning to end. So if I picked up a candidate, we'll take this one out on the very first. I can have the interview being tracked in here. I can add a resume in here. You can set up application questions so that everybody is uniform in what they ask. You can bring in the cover letter. You can create your profiles, which is basically this. You can see it uploaded the resume to it. There's demographics, so that tracks everything in here as well. You can have discussions that you can track. So, and then attachments. So like if they're sending you, if they had to do an EEOC form or they had to do some type of background before you could talk to them or some kind of certification, you could upload all of that. There's also room for any forms that you may specify. We can actually put, I have a client that they have to have an EEOC before they can even talk to the applicant. So we put that out there on the site so that when they applied for the job, they actually filled that out and it came through as well. You can actually email the offer right directly from here, and everything is kept in one specific spot. So once they get hired for the position, you know they're no longer an applicant, they actually are an employee, and they get the job then shows that it's filled, and that information flows through to HR. So there's less than, there's not double entry, which makes it really simple for everybody. We also do work with we do work with actual various recruiting sites. So some of them that we work with, underneath here, we work with like Indeed, we work with ZipRecruiter, we work with, I know CalJobs, I just did one for CalJobs the other day for someone. So you can actually set up here so that you can publish directly through them, so they can click the apply button, and then all of the information starts the process, which makes it easier for the HR manager themselves. We have reports that you can actually look. Again, we do have the data grid, so you can create your own custom reports. The positions you actually define yourselves, you can set those up. You can see how many have actually applied for them. So you'll see I have 5 employees over here that have applied for it, 3 employees on this one, 2 employees on that. So that does track all that information, and it is contained in one place. It makes it nice because then you can track all of the documents that go along with that, and they will all come into the same place, and it's all kept in one location. We do offer a scheduling module. The scheduling module is pretty simple. It's not a very difficult one. It's basically you have assignments, where the locations are, and if there's any reports. That one's not as fancy as the rest. And then we've already been through the self-service of it. So currently, I was going to talk a little bit about some of our integrations. Currently, our integrations that we have right now, we have the basic employee address and name and demographics for Sage 100. We have it for Intacct and Acumatica. We are in the process of, DSD is a development company, so we are in the process of working with Criterion to get more information. They've already given us we went through the GL download. That is something that I am kind of working to see if we could get an API so that you wouldn't even have to download. Basically, it would be done automatically for you. You would, click a button and it would say, do you want to grab your GL from it, and it would work for us. So those are some things that were actually in the works. We've got some other things that I'm actually trying to work with. I'm trying to work with our development team to pass back and forth benefit information, so hours, accrual hours, so that you'll know if it's whatever system you're using, it'll be in both systems, so that if your HR manager is looking at Criterion, they can tell an employee exactly where it's at. If an employee is looking at their employee self-service, they'll also know what their hours are available to them and what they've taken. We're also working on trying to get some payroll history back and forth, depending on what kind of system that you use. So these are all things that I am actually actively working with our development team, and we're hoping that that's all going to be available by the end of this year, so that we can actually have a more availability. Like Abe said, we do have a close relationship with Criterion. They're open to a lot of our feedback. They're open to a lot of our ideas, and they are open to a lot of things that we can give to them. So that is something that we're actively working on. I think I'm done. I'm just about to the last 1150. I know it was a lot, and it is high level at this time. It's high level overview. If you'd like to see anything else more in detail, feel free to reach out and get whatever you need from us. I'm going to turn it back over to, am I going to give it back to you, Kimberly?
Actually, let's just have you stay with the product,
okay,
so we can answer any questions that anyone has. And we did get a couple through. I hope everyone gets encouraged to ask, because this is one of the most valuable pieces of our webinar here today, is that, attention with our technical consultant who knows the product and can kind of show you how it works. So please go ahead and continue to ask some questions. So I think you maybe answered this, but it was sort of regards to training. Maybe it was in regards to that document area. Does Criterion have the ability to, I guess, integrate with a learning management system? Or is that documents area for training manuals and things like that?
So the documents area is for anything that you want to upload, anything that you want to keep. So you can put that information in there so that they have it underneath the learning. So you can put training manuals underneath there. You can put training videos underneath there. You can even rename it so that it doesn't say documents. You could actually change it to something else. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I feel like that's correct. And then I guess maybe this is in regards to a deeper training life cycle, maybe. Does it integrate with those outside LMS tools?
Abe, do you know off the top of your head, yes or no, which ones it does or does not?
I don't have a list in front of me of which ones it does. I will say this, there are a variety of learning management systems that are out there. And from our conversation with our colleagues at Criterion, as long as they have open API architecture, they typically are willing, if there isn't an integration already there, they're willing, again, as I alluded to at the beginning, they're willing to build something between the two, as long as the LMS company is open to it as well. So the big thing, again, I would certainly stress is, when it comes to integrations, regardless of if it's learning management, ERP, whatever third-party solution it is, Criterion really again embraces being able to build those sorts of interfaces and integrations, especially if they have open API architecture. So hope that helps.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Is as long as they have a API, open API. I think, yeah, anything's possible at that point.
Great. Okay, perfect. And again, we'll follow up if that didn't fully answer that question. Another attendee asked, can it be set up so employees can sign documents in the system instead of printing?
Yes. Yes, you can. You can have the document signer in there. Yes, you can. And you can also have fill-in forms like your I-9s and your W-4s. Yes.
And I'll even add a little bit more to that. I think Lisa has said it perfectly. And one other thing too, just as you're thinking about documents being signed in there, and Lisa kind of touched upon it too, with what you can have, especially in the onboarding and the applicant tracking side of it, you can also have offer letters in there as well. They can be sent over to new hires. The new hire can actually actively sign it in there, and that can be captured as well in Criterion, along with obviously all those other new hire documents Lisa alluded to, so the I-9s, the W-4s. But if you have a non-disclosure agreement, any sort of corporate handbook or policy guide, there's a variety of different ways that you can actually send documents and then collect digital signatures and have them stored within the system. And then also too, from a notification standpoint, we can set up alerts so that a recruiting manager, along with maybe the hiring manager, and potentially someone from the administrative staff, can all be dialed in on that. So if there are documents that need to be signed, you have workflows in place so that multiple people are aware of what has and hasn't been completed by the new hire in this particular instance. And that way you can make sure that tasks are being completed in a reasonable amount of time. So really a lot of flexibility there.
Perfect. One more about, I think it's, sort of performance reviews. Where are those like stored, or is the ability to store them in the system?
Yes, so they're under HR, and it would be underneath your individual employee, and it's under performance, and it would be under reviews.
Cool. So I think the kind of question is where they are, and then can they be customized? I guess this is probably deeper into a more formal
So
demo.
yes, they can actually store the actual, we're talking about the actual review then, right? They can
Right.
actually store the actual review underneath that documents tab that we talked a little bit about. Again, we can rename this to something different, but you could put the performance review underneath like personnel, and you can have the actual form stored underneath there. And then you can then upload it to the employee's up to the employee's record, or you could keep it somewhere else. And yes, you can create them yourselves. Criterion does allow you to create your own forms, if you will, so that you would push maybe like during the onboarding, like a specific non-disclosure, or maybe they want to know if you have your own tools for something or whatever. You could actually push out and create a form that they would actually fill out and you would save. So you can upload documents or forms, and then you can also create your own.
Oh, good. Great. Okay, great. Another asks, how long does it hold applicants that were not hired?
Until you purge them, basically.
Oh, okay. That answers that. So conceptually, you could be hiring, and then 6 months from now need another employee of the same type and have that whole group.
Yes.
Is this where you see that? Does it go by date?
Yeah,
Oh, I see
see,
that.
you can actually look at them. So like this person last applied 10/10/2018, and it's still out there. See, their status is active, so you could actually change their status from active to like not hired, and it would still contain it in there unless you wanted to go in there and delete all like the non-hired ones.
Cool. And I guess the skills keywords is how you'd kind of distinguish who you're looking for.
Yes.
Mm, so cool. Let's see. Another maybe a little too specific for this call, but it's sort of, I think, asking how the project hours work. And the question is, can you add time to a project for payroll?
Yes. So Criterion calls it a task. I'm used to calling it a job or a project, but they call it a task. So you can assign tasks in payroll, and then you can put the hours assigned to that task. So in payroll data entry, they may work 3 or 4 different tasks or 3 or 4 different jobs or projects, and you would have hours assigned to that. So if you picture in the payroll data entry, they would have multiple lines with the tasks next to it. So like if we went into payroll and we went into a batch, I'll do it real quick for you. Over here, I don't have it turned on. They would have a task, and then it would say, 4 hours or whatever, or 8 hours on this task. Then this person would have a second line and maybe 8 hours to another task. So yes, you can. You can also run reports based on that as well too.
Great.
And what's kind of cool is they can have different titles. So we talked a little bit like if you maybe for one job and one task, they were a project manager, but then for another task or another job or another day, they were actually working on the line or they were actually working in the field. So you can even change the title at that time as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I think that's well said, Lisa. And I was just gonna add on to that. That's exactly right. That additional customization, being able to change the role they have pursuant to what they're doing at that particular time is really neat too. And there's so much, again, just so much customization there within all this side of it, job costing, whatever. So just a lot you can really do. She's just giving you a little bit of it today, but certainly something we can talk about even in more depth because there's a lot of flexibility in the system. So well said.
Yeah, it comes into play a lot too. Like Abe and I have been on several calls where if you're a union, sometimes your union worker has a prevailing wage and sometimes they do not. So you want to be able to track the ones they do get prevailing wage on, and then you want to, separate those from the ones they don't.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I know we're nearing the end of our time together, so I thank you all for your questions. If we didn't get to your question on this call, just by time constraints, we will definitely follow up with an answer within the next 24 hours or so. We're going to be reaching out and giving everyone the chance to ask any more questions. So please gather those for us, and we'll be happy to help. And just as we close, I'm going to give Abe the chance to be, send us out.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone again for your time today. Really, really cannot stress enough how much we enjoy doing these and being able to bring the functionality within Criterion to you. Again, as we alluded to, we really are just scratching the surface. Would love to be able to engage with all of you out there to how specifically Criterion would be applicable to your particular needs. We really have so much that I think we can do with the system, but again, as I said, from a customization standpoint, that's really where I think Criterion shines and where the value comes in versus a lot of the other platforms that are in the marketplace. They, along with us, embrace all of those clients that have the quirky, unique needs and challenges. That's where we really, I think, separate ourselves from the rest of the market. So again, thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll all speak again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Abe. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone.